Like I always kind of use the metaphor. It's like, especially like chronic pain. If somebody's like experiencing pain that's like not just like I rolled my ankle or I got a bruise, you know, where you have an acute injury. But like imagine inside the bottle, the liquid inside the bottle would represent like stress. And our brains and our bodies don't differentiate different kinds of stress, like physical, mental, social, emotional. Stress is stress. So at the point that you start spilling over is when you're in pain, when you've accumulated enough stress of different means that now your nervous system and your brain is sending off the threat signal, setting off the fire alarm. It's wanting you to respond to something. You really have two options. You have to figure out a way to reduce the amount of liquid in your cup, or you build a bigger cup.
Kurt, have you ever cold plunged?
Cold plunge? No.
We got to get you to do that.
I'll do it. What, jump in the ocean or jump in a
No, in the tank.
I'll do the tank.
You do the tank?
You got one now?
We had one.
times.
It's not set up.
Is that the one outside, like the feed tank you use?
No, we have one that we bought recently. I don't know.
Okay.
Got it from China.
It's in a box.
China.
Took like 3 months to get here. It's like the same one as that like Edge Theory company where it blows
also
up.
the inflatable
But
one.
we got it for like $500. It's got this like crazy Chinese freezer in it too.
That's awesome.
I go to a place in Bayport. It's called Bayport Athletic Recovery.
Okay.
And the guy does it there. He's got like 4 of them.
Right.
He has the plunge one, but he's like, dude, those things are like $8,000.
Yeah.
He's like, I got this China plug. You got to get these.
That's what I did. When I built my facility, I found like Rogue and Titan
you showed
Fitness
me
is
that
their
shit.
manufacturer in China. So it's really funny how China works. It's like different regions that specialize in like one type of like product or whatever it is.
This is the dumbbell section of China.
This is like the fitness section of China. But pennies on the dollar. I paid more for shipping than I paid for like custom dumbbells.
That's amazing.
Standard barbell plates and all that stuff. So if you could deal with being up in the middle of the night and messaging Lily back and forth at 3 a.m.
Yo, I think that's exactly the girl's
hardest
name.
part.
They're all
Pretty
Lily.
sure that's the
Lily,
girl's
yeah.
name.
Yeah.
All right, we need somebody for the American correspondence. Shall be Lily.
And don't try to return that shit either.
Yeah,
if it doesn't
that's-
work, it ain't going back.
Right.
That's a little bit of the risk. No. But it's like the ones he put one in, he got it because he's like doing events. Like he's been doing like
like pop-ups, different places.
yeah, like he was at
totally.
like Murph at the Navy SEAL Museum. So he got
cool.
these for that, and they're colder than the ones that he got from Plunge for like $8,000.
Wow.
It's awesome.
I mean, it's probably exactly the same unit.
Probably. Yep.
It's just all, not branded.
Mostly everything is coming from all the same places. It's just branding. It's just branding.
You're paying for the label.
Yep, exactly. It's so weird when you think about that.
And it's kind of messed up too, because even like on the fitness equipment side, like, oh, Rogue, right?
Yeah,
Oh, made
quality.
in the USA.
Yeah. Nope.
But as long as they make it better in the USA,
As long as it's assembled.
they can say made.
If it's
well, they
assembled.
powder coat
Yep.
it in the USA, and they
Yep.
can say it's made in the USA.
Yeah, that's true.
Even though it's all from China.
That's the caveat.
Yeah.
That is the caveat. It
like-
has to be touched and processed.
As long
and
as
then
it's
it could be
touched here and made any kind of better,
Yep.
which is insane that's the designation, but that's what it is.
So you guys know, Mike is the guy that helped put me back together when my fucking shoulder came out of my body.
Appreciate it.
All right. Could have made it last a
I
little
tried
bit
to-
longer. That would have been nice.
I was trying to help you guys like limit the complaining. My shoulder.
Did
That's
pretty well
always
with
fun.
that.
You have a spot where? It's in Wantagh? Seaford?
Seaford, right? It's like right on the Wantagh Seaford border on Merrick Road.
Nice.
Like right off 135.
This is where you've always been, or it's
No,
new?
I moved there in September. I was in Farmingdale for the 5 years previous to that, and then Syosset.
Yeah, he
for the
made
4
big
years
jumps.
previous to that. Yeah.
Big
So I
jumps.
kind of like upgraded a little bit at a time as I built my business slowly. So I didn't want to go out and get like outside money or anything like that. So I kind of wanted to do it in stages. So now we're in about 4,400 square feet. So
It's dope. It's
Yeah.
a super dope spot.
I think it was a Blockbuster at one time. And now
it was exactly a Blockbuster. In fact, above my drop ceiling is still the popcorn Blockbuster with the blue color. It's like straight retro out of like the 90s, which is amazing.
Kurt was like a divisional manager of Blake. He was like,
I was.
He was
That's
like,
awesome.
He was like the chief operating
I want
officer.
to get
Coast
like a
and East
neon
Coast.
sign that looks like the Blockbuster
Yeah.
logo and just put like the Movement Underground across.
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Just hang it in the exactly where they had their
That's great.
neon back in the day. But
So, Mike, what's the difference between personal trainer and not personal trainer, physical therapist and athletic trainer?
so really just the schooling for the most part. So like athletic training was designed as a profession because the truth is like any pro sports or athletics, you can't outsource that medical. You need somebody on the field
team
all the time,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just so much volume. So an athletic trainer is kind of like a cross between an emergency medical technician and a physical therapist. So we're a little bit more trained in like emergency management.
Okay.
So if you guys saw like, the DeMar Hamlin thing, right? Like those are athletic trainers responding to that. So triaging, emergency management, that kind of stuff. And then it's also a little bit more just like we're also like the quarterback of all the healthcare for athletes. So managing all the other specialists, the physicians, the different providers that we use, and then also doing the rehab and treatment. So like what I'm doing now is more like what a traditional physical therapist, I guess, would do. You work at a clinic and you're there all the time. So I'm a little bit kind of trailblazing, I guess, for athletic training, but it's becoming more popular to see like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But you used to do like work with athletes as part of a team.
Oh, yeah. I worked for the Florida Gators for a couple of years during those national championships. So I was on the field for that 2008 national championship with like Tim Tebow.
Nice.
So I got to run out of the tunnel in Miami and watch that.
A lot of bad stuff with that team. A lot of bad stuff with that
You
team.
guys,
Dude,
didn't
that
think, you guys didn't
documentary
think I was
doesn't
gonna bring the
even-
sports guy, man.
It doesn't even really.
Forget
Like,
that. Let's just talk about
I guess
the
talking
games,
about the swamp, the
Yeah.
Swamp Kings. Yeah, that documentary sheds a little bit of light into like the savagery that went on that year. Like there'd be times I'd be in the locker room being like, I'm going to fucking jail. I'm just for being complicit in this workout that these athletes are doing. Like it was like borderline abuse.
I don't know anything about this. I don't know.
That's a documentary.
You gotta watch it. The long story is like Urban Meyer, when he took over that
30.
program, he wanted to get rid of like more than half the athletes, but he couldn't legally make them quit or get rid of them. So he just made it so horrible of an experience that he just weeded out anybody who wasn't willing to like crawl over barbed wire to make it happen. So
That's crazy.
I think that happens all the time. That just happened with Deion Sanders too. He wanted to get rid of that whole entire
with the
team,
regime changes,
you know?
it's pretty common, but it's like one of those unspoken things in the NCAA because you're not, it's supposed to be amateurism and stewardship, and it's
meanwhile,
not
they're
that.
making
It's a
billions of
giant
dollars.
business.
Oh, huge.
Where you don't have to pay your talent, which is amazing.
Isn't that changing though? Are they like student athletes? Isn't that like a thing now?
Well,
like,
they can do.
The team doesn't have to pay them. They get paid outside.
Right now, they can go
They're
out
allowed?
and get sponsorships and like make their own deals, but
Name and
But the
likeness.
school is not paying them.
school doesn't pay them. No, I mean unless you consider tuition
Yeah,
reimbursement.
they give them a
but
free education.
Yeah.
Plus all that clothing.
what does an extra seat cost that they're not going to sit in? But,
Interesting.
And they're kings of the campus.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
So like the Florida Gators, they have like a huge team of athletic trainers. Like
We
there was-
had like 30 or 40
Wow,
on staff,
wow.
but 22
Wow.
sports. I mean, football alone had a staff of 6 because it's 100 athletes.
Florida Gators is football.
yeah. Well, no,
I
it's
mean,
an
it's
all.
a
So they got
college.
all the sports, but football is like the biggest one. Yeah,
That's the mascot of.
right.
Yeah, I don't know nothing, bro.
He's not a sports guy.
It's not
Like, I
wrestling
even
with
knew
another
that
man.
one.
No.
If it's not wrestling with another man, I'm not into it. All right?
Yeah.
Guy thinks he's a gladiator.
So you guys jump from like sport to sport, or was everybody kind of like dedicated to one sport?
Usually you're dedicated to one sport. It depends on the schools. Like Florida with a big budget. I mean, the year that I was there, our operating budget for just athletics was $90 million for the year.
It's wild.
So it's like big time money. So we had so my primary sport was track and field, but I was able to then volunteer with other sports to help them out. So I worked with worked football preseason. I did every game. I was on the sideline. But like most like smaller schools, like mid-major D1s, D2s, D3s, you might have 3 athletic trainers for all 22 sports. Wow. So it really is at that
difference.
level. It's just you're just managing the chaos and referring it out for the most part. But it just depends.
That is such a big business. $90 million. I wonder how much they were actually making.
That was in 2008 when they had to cut the budget 10%.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's
$90
insane.
million is so much money.
It's an insane amount of money.
So much money.
And that's just for one piece.
To play
That's just for
games.
athletics.
Yeah.
And in fact, like at that level, like in the SEC, the athletics departments are technically separate businesses. They're incorporated businesses that are affiliated with the school.
Really?
Like
Are they private or are they like?
it's a private entity.
Wow.
So, for example, in 2008, the Florida Gators athletics program was the only business in the state of Florida during the recession to operate 100% in the black.
Wow.
They operated all out of profit
That's interesting.
and revenue. Yeah,
That
it's
is
insane.
really interesting.
Yeah, football makes $60 to $75 million a year. Wow. Just this one sport.
Nuts.
It's crazy.
It's big business, and that's why it's the big controversy of like not paying these athletes. It's like, and like when when the professional leagues collude with the NCAA and say, "Oh, you can't get drafted until," that's not for the athlete. or in protecting amateurism. That's for
Yeah.
the NCAA wants to make their piece. Why March Madness is the highest selling, the highest grossing sports franchise in the world. It's bigger than the World Cup.
Really?
Well, by revenue, because they do it every year. World Cup's only every 4 years.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting to see too, but they're like the product is so diluted down now too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Like women's basketball is actually more fun to watch than like the men's basketball.
Or even just college basketball
You
is
know?
much more fun to watch, I think, than professional basketball. At least they play defense on some level, you know?
100%.
They got to give these kids the opportunity to make the money though. It's like they get hurt and like that's it.
And that's it.
you
You're
know?
done.
Megan, aren't you big like fucking March Madness gambler?
No, but I
is.
live with a huge sports fan, so by proxy, I know.
Weren't
a lot
you like
about
fucking
this
ripping
stuff.
picks and shit? March Madness?
No, the Super Bowl, I get very lucky.
Got it,
I did make a bracket this year, and it fucking sucked. I'm so bad. But
Has Mike got any athletic trainers on his kickball team? You think?
don't roast him. He does that for fun.
no. My boyfriend does like a thing that's like.
Yeah, what does he do?
Oh,
He's
cool.
like or he did like the intramural thing, right?
Yeah, he
college?
did like campus rec, like the director of campus rec and like club sports and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
What do you think the budget
yeah, at a
was
few
over
schools
there?
here in Boston.
90 million?
Not a lot. Not a lot. He did leave it.
$90.
We have
Yeah.
pizza party on Friday.
Exactly. Yeah, he wasn't in athletics, campus rec, but similar.
That's a cool job though. Like it's such an interesting business. Like
The business
college
of
part
athletics?
Yeah.
It is a cool job. The problem is it pays crap because
imagine.
it's a
It's so
cool
competitive,
job.
everybody wants it.
It's a job that you're like, wow. Like, you know, like when I was at Florida, if I got a barbecue stain on like a pole, I could just throw it away and open a new one because I had endless amounts of like team gear. But they do that and then they pay you crap, you know, because somebody else will say yes to that job just for the experience. You know? It is a really cool
And
experience.
the possibility of just being close to that action and where the
100%,
opportunity people will do that shit for free.
There are people that do it for free.
Yep.
For sure.
That's how all like entertainment based things are. Like anything that's like in the sphere of like entertainment or pop culture, like people will fucking hang themselves,
I know.
you know, out front,
Not me.
you know,
Not
to
anymore.
get to touch that. And they take advantage of that.
Yeah, they get taken so advantage of.
Yep.
No, you're 100% right. It happens all the time.
Not anymore, but you would have, right? I'm
Oh, not
sure
even.
you didn't
Yeah.
make anything
I
in
mean,
Florida.
again, I literally left my entire life behind.
Right.
I drove down to Florida with no money, and I was getting paid $6.50 an hour, and I was working 100 hours a week.
Wow.
Wow. That's
So,
crazy.
Yeah,
But you
I would
gotta
hit
do
overtime
shit.
by Wednesday.
But you gotta do shit like that.
You do.
If you're
oh,
really
of course, I
passionate
was
about
young.
it.
Yeah, I had, like that was an opportunity I wasn't going to say no to. It was like, go
But- and
work
that's
for-
the foundation.
Go work for a top 5 school.
It's a foundation for a
Yeah.
lot of what you're doing now, probably,
100%.
right?
100. The
Opens
whole
doors.
mindset for my business now is kind of was generated from that experience of like that first class of leaving no stone unturned, attention to detail. That's what we do. It's like not just like, oh, it hurts, so just rest it.
No, I love what you're doing with social media. I love how you're taking shots at everybody. Like you're going after.
Dude, I'm so honestly
I love
in
it.
real life so conflict.
You're
avoidance.
calling
I
you're calling
hate it.
bullshit on so many people. I think it's great.
But that's what people. That's what stokes the algorithm now. So
Yeah.
part of that is like conflict for the sake of engagement. But I don't particularly enjoy it. I got called out recently by like a health guru like yesterday, and
Was it Paul Check?
yeah,
Paul Check himself called you out?
yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he put a 2-part video. He went on like a 20-minute tirade.
But that's
about-
cool. I mean, you're getting somewhere.
Yeah, of course. But he's also like got 5 wives and like, he's like recommending like you smoke like weed mixed with your lavender.
Yeah,
and,
move
like,
the stones
tobacco.
around in your
Yeah.
stone garden and shit.
Right. And like, taking your tarot card and
But there's so
sniffing
much-
dope off it.
There's so much
Who's
weird.
this guy? What's his number?
I just want to try.
I hang out in the rock garden, get high when
No,
they let me have
listen.
5 wives. Yeah, totally. I'm in.
I think he's done a lot of great things for like the health industry and then a lot of like questionable things. So it's, but again, that's health and fitness for you. You know, it's,
Health and
it's
fitness
always,
is such a weird space.
it could be a cesspool for bullshit.
Oh yeah. Going back to like snake oil salesmen.
Oh, 100%.
Like going back to like forever. People are always trying to like, I got this thing and it's the thing and it's gonna cure you and it's gonna make you and
Yeah, the quick fix.
yeah.
Yeah.
What I mean, like you probably have like a lot of funny shit. Like what's a good one that you've experienced?
What's that?
Like a good, real like bullshit tall order. Like what's out there? What are you seeing right now?
Oh man, I mean, it's so hard because I like to adopt new things, but I tend to be an early adopter of things. because that's kind of how we were at Florida. It was like if we had a new modality or new tech that was
try it out.
we would just do it because there was no budget. You weren't worried about like not like a PT clinic now has got to be worried about like what insurance will reimburse. So they won't do a lot of stuff just because they can't get paid for it. And unfortunately, in the private sector, that money dictates a lot.
Sure.
So I mean, like ultrasound, bullshit. Like, but when it first came out, people were like, oh, this is going to be the next thing. We're going to heal your injury with sound waves. It's like, okay, I'll wait. And then it turned out to be complete bullshit, you know? And that's typically what happens is like these things come in and out of favor. As we gather more research and more evidence, we're like, wasn't that good.
But it just seems like the way to do all this stuff, and which is not the way that almost anybody does it. It's like, okay, we got this new thing. Let's try it. We're going to try it for a little bit.
Sure.
After it's been tried and measured and tested, like, this is not the thing. You know what I mean? Like, but
Right.
but it's, you don't ever have that, like, it's like that perspective is usually never part of these things. It's always like, all right, we bill X amount on the ultrasound. This is what we do. We do ultrasound. Or
Right.
this is the thing and this is what we do. And like, we're Camp Ultrasound, where it's like, why has it got to be like that?
Money.
Yeah.
Money and egos, man. That's ultimately what it comes down to. It's like I've changed my opinion a lot over the years as I've learned more.
But like, you're a fucking human being, and
But
that's
that's
going
the
to
way
continue
it goes.
to happen.
Right, exactly.
Well, people go all in on some of these things.
And then
that's the problem.
right.
People want
know?
to go all in.
It's one singular thing. Like, what are the big things now? You got like sauna, cold plunge, red light, DEXA scan. Like, are those things all real?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
those are
Well,
good.
again, everything has a time and a place. Like if somebody was coming to me and they have like lots of health problems, maybe they're unmanaged diabetes, they've got, weight loss issues. It's like, get in a cold plunge, not where we're going to start with you. Because it's just like the ROI on that time spent is just not worth it.
Yeah.
We're not going to stress your body more. You're already in a...
We're going to start with that bag of Oreos after dinner. every night.
Yeah, we got to start with maybe some lifestyle coaching, maybe getting you moving, getting you over the hump of being sore. When it just depends on the person. I think where you see those tools have a lot more utility is people who are taking care of the basics. Like if you're eating well for the most part, you get enough sleep, and you're exercising regularly, great. You can add those things, and those can have a benefit to you. But I think a lot of people want to use them as like a proxy to the work that they don't want to do, which is that becomes a problem. It's like when like Gary Brecka says, "Oh, getting the cold plunge is going to strip body fat off you." It's like, well, no, that's not how that works at all, actually.
Yeah.
And people are like, okay, I'm willing to jump in some cold water, but jump in the car and go to the gym, or it becomes a harder thing.
There's no one thing.
There's no one thing.
Well, it's those three things you said, though. It always comes back to like get some good sleep, eat well, and just move around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are the pills. Get sunlight, have a good social support system. Like those are the probably.
What do you think about sunscreen? Is sunscreen bad or good? Listen, I've been hearing a lot about this lately.
What do you mean?
What have you been hearing?
Like that, like
You just stop using it?
no, maybe a little bit.
Looks like it.
Well, I mean, again, if you want, do you guys have
tan.
tinfoil? Is there tinfoil hats around?
Yeah.
So it's good.
Well, again, it's like if you look at like historically rates of skin cancer 50 to 100 years ago is like virtually none. But now it's a huge thing.
And there was no sunscreen back then.
No. I mean,
Interesting.
human beings, think about it. We were evolved outside naked.
and gathering.
You know what I mean? Like you were in the sun
Yeah.
all day, every day. Like that,
Yeah.
it's not like, and they're like the whole premise behind red light therapy is really utilizing the cellular responses to light. Like our body is calibrated to the sun, like our circadian rhythm, which manages our hormones, our sleep cycles, like from that to even just the way our bodies produce cellular energy.
Yeah.
So the whole idea of red light therapy is that you're just taking one particular or two particular wavelengths
That
that
come
you would
from the
get
sun.
from the sun. So it's basically like supplementing the sun, but you're not getting any UVA or UVB exposure. That's the difference. So, but you're
so-
taking light energy and you're turning it into cellular energy.
So what happens? Because I'm not used to it. I don't know what this red light is. Do people stand in front of a light?
Yeah,
And they get
exactly
zapped
right.
by a light?
It's like a giant red panel.
And
Yeah.
what is this supposed to do? Make you feel better?
It can help.
person?
It can help with pain, inflammation. It
So
can
you're
help with-
putting it on one spot? Or you're putting
it depends
all
on the
over?
unit that you have. Like I have wraps that you can wrap around, like if you have a painful joint, and I also have giant panels that you could technically stand in front of naked if you wanted to.
And you just stand
I've
there
seen,
and it's supposed
the
to
mask.
ease the pain.
The mask is slightly different wavelengths because the skin in your face is a
More
little
for
different than the
skincare.
skin in the rest of your body. But yeah, there's anti-aging effects. There's inflammatory benefits.
And you feel like red light therapy has been beneficial? Like
I've
I've done it a few times. Not enough with you, but I've done it a few times.
The thing I like about it the most is that there's virtually no downside.
Sure. And that's
You know
big
what I
in
mean?
this arena.
100%, right? So it's like, oh, great, I could take Advil and that makes me feel better. But there's downside to that
It's tearing up
Advil.
your stomach
It
lining.
tears up your stomach. You can have liver and kidney issues.
Yep.
Cardiovascular risk.
Yep.
So I like it because if, as far as like something that I can do that has the science behind it, has actual meaningful impact on maybe that inflammatory or healing pathway, and carries with it very, very little risk.
Yeah.
How new is it?
Red light therapy has been around for 60 years.
60 years.
It's not new at all. It's just becoming more mainstream now because the technology has gotten a lot cheaper. Interestingly enough, because of the cannabis industry.
Wow.
Because all these all these people are manufacturing lights and LEDs for all these different grow applications.
That's
and
how
that
it got
brought
cheaper.
the price down for all of them, all of it. Yeah.
Kurt's been fucking doing red light therapy in his closet at home
Seriously.
for years.
Put my arms
didn't
in it,
realize
my hands in it.
I'm just seeing Kurt
Doesn't
like
put it in my
I'm
eyes.
seeing Kurt like standing butt naked in front of a red light panel.
Trying to make my
With a
business get
cigarette.
better.
Yeah, with a cigarette in his mouth.
Is it like all like these things though? Like you gotta continually do them. Like you're not just gonna get a benefit from hitting it once.
You can.
can.
But you always, just like anything else, the consistency is always one of the hallmarks of, again, if you got knee inflammation, you get in front of red light therapy one time, are you going to be like free of inflammation? Probably not. But it can help. You know, it can help that process.
But like you said, I think what's really powerful is understanding that something doesn't have a downside,
Right.
and giving it a shot over time to see that's just like good process driven thinking for anything.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like if you weigh the consequences, okay, the consequences are not steep. Let me try this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I'll try something else. And
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like that is the method of getting better results in everything.
But how do you measure it's working? Just do you feel better?
See, that's the key question is like, how do you define what works? Does it mean like you're pain free after one exposure? Then definitely it doesn't work if that's your definition of it.
Right.
There's plenty of ways that you can measure the change. If you wanted to get super scientific, you could literally measure like intracellular processes. But, for the most part, the way that we use it is just an adjunct to the other care and the other things that we're doing.
Yeah, like after on the table,
Right.
go sit on the
Right.
red light for 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, like when your shoulder, like after you had your
Yeah.
surgery, right? It's
Yeah.
like, okay, for the healing process in that particular moment in your recovery, when
Sure.
you can't move it as much because the surgeon anchored some stuff and it's like, okay, we got to let that heal.
Yep.
Red light therapy is a great thing to start with because at least it's some way to aid in your body's natural healing process.
Yep.
That's cool. Yeah. Huh?
It's interesting.
Kurt, you got to get over there to get red lighted.
Yeah, but what if your neck hurts, your arm hurts, your leg hurts? How long is it going to take me to recover?
Everything hurts.
I need a red light. Do you have anybody who like keeps on coming back with new injuries all the time? Like,
Well, I mean, I work with a lot of athletes and active people, so it's always
like
kind of
regular
stuff.
people.
Oh, for sure. I
like,
mean,
do you think they're making it up? Like, 1 minute their shoulder hurts, and then after like 3
I don't
weeks,
think
their
those kind
knee
of people
hurts?
go to him. I think those kind of people go to insurance-based,
Yeah, like regular.
Gotcha.
insurance-based physical therapy.
Physical
You know what I mean?
therapist.
Like, he's not that place.
All right.
I mean, at least I don't think.
now listen, I get people who
I'm sure you got a few.
the whole
characters.
pain thing is a whole deep conversation. That's a whole different bucket by itself because it's complicated. It's not just like physical insult to tissue.
Right.
Like, people who are just like chronically stressed in their lives are going to be more pain sensitive than those who aren't.
Yeah.
So it's a multifactorial process, and that's why it's so difficult.
Yeah.
Not any one person, not any two people have the same reason that they're in pain. It's just so complicated.
And the way people perceive and process it.
100%,
Like, one person could be in significant pain, but they don't. It's not. They process it better than another person, and one person can't deal with the
Right.
slightest discomfort.
Right, exactly.
it
Or maybe you
triggers,
do
like,
have some
fear.
issue and then you're just like have a really bad day at work or you didn't sleep well or what I
all
mean? For
that
whatever reason you got more stress. Like I always kind of use the metaphor, it's like, especially like chronic pain, if somebody's like experiencing pain that's like not just like I rolled my ankle or I got a bruise, you know, where you have an acute injury. But like imagine like inside the bottle, the liquid inside the bottle would represent like stress. And our brains and our bodies don't differentiate different kinds of stress, like physical, mental, social, emotional. Stress is stress. So at the point that you start spilling over is when you're in pain, when you've accumulated enough stress of different means that now your nervous system and your brain is sending off the threat signal, setting off the fire alarm. It's wanting you to respond to something, right? And and so you really have two options. You have to figure out a way to reduce the amount of liquid in your cup, or you build a bigger cup. So like kind of what we try to do is do a little bit of both, right? So getting stronger, drinking more water, managing your sleep, dealing with your stress a little better, are all ways to build a bigger cup. You know, sometimes when people get on my table, it's like my back is killing me, and I'll do like deep tissue work or soft tissue work and joint mobilizations, and that can help them for a short period of time, maybe reduce some of the liquid in the cup, so I can get them to do the things that would help them build a bigger cup. So that's kind of one of the metaphors I'll use to describe it, because I think a lot of people automatically assume that if they have pain somewhere that it's like a damage meter and that they fucked something up.
Yeah.
But like if you think about it, like a paper cut hurts like hell. It's minimal tissue damage at best, but it still hurts a lot, right? So it doesn't really work like that one-to-one, that correlation.
What's super interesting to me is how like the things that you can do, should do, are so simple, but they're not. Like there's just, I don't know whether it's the way we're socialized as a society or just individual mentalities and perspectives, but like it's so hard for people. It's really fucking hard for people.
Preach it.
I think people, like, and I think people don't even, like, so many people, and then the internet is saturated. And then like what we were talking about before is that people go like super all in, like I'm just gonna cold plunge 6 times a day and that's gonna be my answer. And while like in a vacuum as a single thing, it's a tool, it's just, I just think people have a really hard time like how to think, how to ask the right questions. Like, what are the questions? What are the problems? Like then there's hard to even get to the starting point.
I don't think a lot of people
like
ask.
what you just said is exactly what I do to help people. I just help them prioritize. Like what thing can we start with that's going to swing the door open the best?
Yeah,
right
get us
now.
moving.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, where is the most return on your time investment? Because everybody's different. Everybody's got a different starting point.
Yeah.
And so like that's the difference between rehab and training. It's just the starting point, where you're at in that process. That's it.
Interesting. He's a big cold plunge guy.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. 3-4 years now I've been doing it.
Nice.
But yeah, I go through like varying, like it's easy. Recently it's been insanely hard, and like I know it's the same temperature that it's always been, so it's like cool.
But that's your perception, right?
Yeah.
So like your perception is altered heavily by
Stress,
lots
lifestyle.
of different
Yeah.
things.
It's cool. That's an interesting
Yeah.
way. I never thought about it
know?
like that.
So like our experience, again, it's just like you could go deep in like our experience is just electrical impulses interpreted by our brain, right? That's what it is.
No, your state of mind can alter your experiences so drastically. And I think one of the first times I ever really felt that, like in a kind of, I don't know if you want to call it tactile, but an experiential way, is that like, because I make music. I've been making music for a long time. And when I first started like recording music, I would listen back to mixes. Like let's say I did something like a few weeks ago, and I would listen, like the engineer I'm working with would do his thing, set it up, and I would listen back to it. And let's say I was in a bad mood or I was stressed, or I just came in straight from work, or like things are going on, and I'd be listening and I'd be hearing all these mistakes. I'd be hearing all these things that I didn't like, all these like, I have all this critical thought process. And then I would listen to the same track the next morning in my car, fresh, and it'd be great.
Right.
And after that would happen a bunch of times, it would really kind of hit me like your state of mind influences your reality so
Without a doubt.
powerfully, and it's so subtle, and you have no idea.
And that is when we start talking about like, scientific evidence behind all these different things, that's the part you can't control for.
And there's no measuring
and
to that.
There is no way to empirically measure it.
No.
There's no way to quantify it.
No.
And so like, that's why you see like some people are like, oh, this thing changed my life. And other people are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know, it's just.
When
but
in
again,
reality, that thing did change that person's
100%.
life. But yet for you or me, it's like, this is
maybe different.
bullshit.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? This is not
we're
doing
shaped
anything.
by our own experience and our own lens.
Crazy.
But you just got to try different things.
That's
Like people
without
ask me
doubt.
about the cold plunge thing all the time, you know, and I say like how long do you do it? And then I'll get people into it, and they're like, I was in there for 15 minutes. They're like, how long are you in there for? I'm like, I don't know, like 2-3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, like it's different for everybody. If you feel like being in there for 15 minutes, stay in there. But you know,
Right.
it's you just got to try.
I wouldn't
it.
recommend that, but
Yeah, me neither. But you know, you got to try it, and then you get like the extreme side of it, where it's like the guys that hang out there. It's like, oh, I was in the 35-degree one for 10 minutes, and I'm like, you know. But like,
awesome,
what
bro.
happened? You know,
Right.
like just enjoy it. You like it, like get in a groove and do it. That's it.
and do it consistently,
You know?
and you'll
Yeah.
start to see a benefit for sure.
Yeah.
And
100%.
then, but do it consistently to find out, and then maybe it's not the thing, and then don't do it anymore and try something else. But
Right.
do that consistently.
You got it.
Nothing is ever going to show up and say, okay, this is it. Just buy the ticket, put it in your
Yeah,
pocket,
no.
you're good.
I wish it was like that.
But why why? Yeah, totally. I'd buy a lot of tickets.
But what's interesting though is like, you know, then I try, like, you know, I'll try it. I'll try anything. Then you start to dig into like the science of it, and that was the wrong move for me, because there's so many different conflicting things. Like once I start going down that route, I'm like, you know, 3 minutes is enough, 20 minutes a week, an hour a week, whatever it is, you know, and I'm like, whatever, I don't know, you know, like what's right.
And that's the thing. There is really no right answer. There are plenty of wrong answers. Like we do know that there's certain things that you don't want to do with like a tool like cold plunge, but there is no like one way to do it. You know, temperature, duration. You know, these things are
Hypothermia
very
type
right.
thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the risk, right? That's
Yeah.
the risk. You know, you could even do you guys ever hear the story of gosh, why am I just blanking on his name now? Huge entrepreneur, finance guy, Robbins. Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins.
He almost died in his cold plunge at home.
Recently?
No, this was years ago. He'd been doing it for years.
You ever see him jump
So
on
he-
the trampoline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He fucking just jumps on a trampoline to get in.
He's just getting
But
his
I mean,
cells
it
moving.
makes sense,
He's
though.
into all that stuff.
Yeah, well, you
Yeah.
talk about
But
a guy
he
that's
has
got
a-
the right mindset. That
He's
guy
got a
fucking just
built-in
wakes up.
plunge into the floor of his home.
Which is sick.
And I guess like the story goes something, and again, this is what I've heard, or I watched a video of him telling the story, but he gets off like a cross transcontinental flight. He's jet lagged. He's like, I'm doing my routine, gets in the cold plunge, blacks out. He was by himself. His housekeeper walks in to give him a towel, and he's like lifelessly floating in this tank. And she pulled him out.
That's a big dude to pull
And now
out.
he's a big, and that was the thing.
Hope she got
She
a
still
check.
doesn't know, I'm sure,
Yeah.
how she did it, or because it was in the floor. So it wasn't even
Yeah.
like pulling you out of a tank. It's like, I've got to pull you up from, and she's like saved his life. And now he never does it without somebody being present.
The guy where I go, he said he's had people, like he'll always go the first time with people in there with him because he's had people black out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's shock.
Yeah.
You get a shock response.
And if you don't understand that, like, level one is to control, you get your breathing under control, like, you can really let yourself get carried away and you get fucked up.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, and that, like, you know, a lot of people can't handle that level of you know, the up
Stress.
tempo.
Right. And that's why we use like graded exposure,
Yeah.
right? Graded exposure is a concept where it's like, okay, maybe 35 is a little extreme.
Yeah, sure.
So let's start maybe 55 or 60 and
Yep.
like acclimatize you on some level so you kind of know what to expect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because just like anything else in life, like the more you do something, the less scary it becomes, right? It's
Because
like,
once you start to make it
Right.
adjust to your mind, once your
Right.
mind gets wrapped around something, then
Yeah.
it's fucking not serious.
That's not true.
You don't think
I
so?
stand over that fucking thing every single time, and I'm like, I fucking hate this. Why am I doing this?
Really?
Every single time I get afraid of getting in that thing, and I find ways
Wait,
of getting in differently and like
is it fear
hiding
though?
from
Would
the
you call it
cold.
fear, or is it just like
I
like
start thinking
reluctance?
about that, what it's gonna feel like. You
Right.
know, like it's never.
I know this is gonna suck.
Yeah, but that's why you got to do it.
But
why you
that's
got to
the
keep doing
important
it.
part.
Yeah.
That's why it's, building resilience.
I like, and this is kind of like a good thing and also a psycho thing. Like, I like that state of heightened, like, I feel very alive in
Right.
that state of heightened fucking like heart is pumping,
Right.
adrenaline is going, and you know,
Like you're on the roller coaster, like ready to tip. You click, click,
yeah.
click,
I mean,
click.
you know, there's definitely
It's fun.
some unhealthy levels of that aspect, but just in general, like I seek that energy. I seek that.
So for Jesse, it's like starts with cold plunge, ends with like wingsuit.
Exactly.
Walking on hot coals. But what you do come back to is like the biggest principle that I live my life by is like you just got to try to feel as good as you can for as much of the time you're here. And that's what pushes me through is like I know for the rest of the day after I get that done,
Feel great.
feel amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
It's really cool.
It's amazing.
I haven't done one in a while. I gotta get back
More
to
like
it.
let's go plunge.
Spring curd.
Don't you have one back there?
We did. Now we have another one that's in a box.
It's a bitch to keep clean.
yeah.
Keep clean. What are you doing in it?
What do you mean? You getting dirty people in there? You gotta like
If
You
have
guys
a
use
bunch of
chemicals? You
people
gotta
going
use like spa chemicals. I use like hot tub chemicals.
yeah. But the one we
An
had,
oxidizer, a sanitizer, and an enzyme cleaner.
a lot
That's
of
it.
maintenance, and not that much.
Not that much.
No?
I test it twice a week. Well, for us, because we use it commercially, it depends on how many sessions we do with it. You know, like if I have 5 people a day, we're testing it and treating it that day.
Just like
If
a
I have
pool,
5
right?
in a week, I do it once a week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like every 5 or so people are testing it, just like a pool. Exactly.
I just got a pool now. I'm testing. I was
It's
testing
like making a
chemicals the
witch's
other day.
brew. Just put the shit in and just
Full blown.
and swirl it around.
Right.
What temperature you going at? What
The cold
temperature
plunge?
Yeah.
The lowest I've gone was like 37.
37.
Yeah.
I don't know. Once it gets below 40, it's just not enjoyable. I
Right.
think I try to stay in the 40s.
I mean, I can't even get in the ocean. That's like 60. So I don't know what you guys are talking about. That thing touches my toes. My whole body shocks.
Right.
Nope, not going in the water with you kids.
I might have the video on my phone, but when we first set it up out
Tony.
there, Tony was so funny, bro. It was like I was dying laughing because he was like he was writhing in pain, like writhing in pain, like it was killing him. And then another really good story about you because he knows Gay very well. In that same time period, Gay goes in right, and Gay's wearing his fucking Whoop,
Yeah.
and his phone is and his Whoop is on active from the training session from we were just training.
Does it blow up?
And
on
fucking
his wrist?
Gay goes in the water, and it's like, you know, I think it was low 40s, maybe high 30s. Gay goes in, gets in, and his heart rate starts to drop. And I'm like, what? This fucking guy's
honestly
not
doesn't even
human.
really surprise me,
And me
honestly.
and whoever was with, this is my brother. Me and my brother are standing there. I'm like, this guy's heart rate is dropping right now. And like, we're watching it on his phone. Like, it's not like, oh, we're watching him and we're watching the numbers on his phone go fucking down. And I'm like, what is happening?
Yeah, he's a superhero.
Unbelievable.
I'm convinced.
Unbelievable. Fucking mutant. Unreal.
Doesn't seem enjoyable.
Well, I mean, think about it though. Like, here's a guy who military hardened, like
Yes.
total badass.
Without a
Like
doubt.
he's already seen and done harder things than getting in cold water.
Yeah.
Spent
So for him, he's like, this is great.
Yeah, spent a lifetime of putting himself in situations that are
Right.
horrible.
Right.
Yeah.
So where you guys moved over now, is it you get a lot of people from like the community around you guys, or just people from all over?
So previously we had really just done like the sports rehab. That was like our niche. So manual therapy, corrective exercise, like just helping people get out of pain and move better. And then we had a gym that we were like it was kind of a big warehouse like this. And so there was another gym that subleased in the same building.
the
So
farm
we
does
kind of
that.
would just refer back and forth. So the new space, we actually have a full gym training facility now. So now, yeah, we're definitely attracting more people from the local community to join the gym and like work out with us.
You're doing like workout classes and stuff. Like you're doing
yeah.
like group training and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, we do. It's group training, but we individualize all the programs. So everybody has their own program on an app. So we evaluate them and design the training program specifically for them versus like, oh, I show up to CrossFit. It's like a CrossFit model, only everybody gets
One-on-one.
an individualized program versus having
It's cool.
a workout of the day.
That's cool.
You get every age range, you know.
Yeah, we have
older,
middle
younger.
school kids all the way up to
Oh, wow.
76, 78-year-olds training in there. So it just depends.
That's awesome.
Sounds like good business. How long you been doing it for now?
We had like sports medicine stuff.
No, your place now.
I started practicing on my own in 2014 under a different company that I was a co-founder of, and then we split ways in 18. So I guess since 2018.
Through the pandemic.
Right. Yeah, we survived the pandemic, luckily, which was not easy, but that's where social media does help a little bit. No, so
you're
just teaching online and doing that kind of
But
stuff.
you're
and-
doing the social media thing right. You're doing.
I try.
You're just being yourself and you're doing your thing. It's cool.
Yeah, that's cool when people like come up to me like, "Oh, you're the same
Yeah.
in real life that you are on like your social media." I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome," because that's kind of what I'm not trying to be somebody else. I'm just like, this is what I'm doing. I'm just documenting it.
And what I think is really smart about what you're doing, and this is we had a guy we grew up with who was in last week, who's a cop, who also has a really big social media following. He's doing his thing, but like the fact that you have your business and you're merging your own personality and your take, but it's not like like you're not trying to be an influencer, but you're influential in the space that you're in because that's what your business is. It's kind of like we talk about this a lot about how you can use social media as business leverage if you're thinking about it in a different way than just thinking about it to grow following and grow audience and monetize
100%.
Following an audience.
Right.
Like that's like the beta version of like, I'm going to get 1 million followers and they're going to pay me because, I got these eyeballs on me. But whereas now it's like, like what you're doing is like you have this business, it's running, you're doing your thing. And now the social media piece is complementing it. So I'm sure this opportunities will flow back and forth because one feeds the other. And that's like, I think that's like the way of the future in terms of how to use social media.
I mean, indirectly, that I guess was what was the plan. I didn't really intend for it to be that way. And it's like my social media too, like somewhere along the line, I became like the trainer guy.
Yeah.
Which it was never really my intention to like, but like most of my followers are people who do what I do.
Yeah,
and
which
are
is
like
awesome.
learning, and which is awesome. It's really, really validating and super cool. And then other people just find me. Like I've had pro athletes reach out to me from all over the country, fly out, stay
Paul
here for a few
Checks
days.
looking to fucking take you out.
Yeah, that's fine.
I love it.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not afraid to take a bite of the big dog's ass.
How do you decide like what you're like? Do you plan it out or is it spur of the moment?
No. So what I do now, I have a videographer now that comes in, but it's basically he comes in, he's a fly on the wall. He just we just choose what time he's going to come in, whatever clients I'm treating. He just starts filming me and then I just do my thing. So a lot of it is just me talking to the client, or sometimes I'll turn and talk to the camera as if like I'm teaching you if you were in the room. But yeah, it's really like that's me working and doing
Organic.
my thing. Yeah.
And have you developed a relationship with him to where like he understands like what how to get you like
so the cool part is like my videographer was a former athlete that I worked with and trained for a few years.
Oh, that's great.
So he actually he's a great guy to talk to. You guys should definitely talk. He bear crawled an ultramarathon.
Oh wow.
He's the world record holder.
God.
He's the only human on the planet to ever have bear crawled an ultramarathon
On purpose?
on purpose. He did
insane.
he did 31 miles on his hands and feet.
Who is this guy?
His name's James Boria.
James Boria?
Amazing.
He's a Long Island guy?
Anybody
Long Island
ask him
kid,
to do that?
Young guy?
Yeah. Since his 20s, played college baseball.
What do you get if you bear crawl ultramarathon?
Nothing.
Record.
Not much.
shit.
You
A
get
little
to be
bit of
Mike's
clout.
videographer.
No, no, he's a phenomenal. The really cool part about it is like when he started doing the video for me, he picks the clips that he likes, and those were the ones that started going viral. Those are the ones that people really like. Whoa, this is awesome. So he picks different stuff than I would have picked. But that's fine. He's got a different eye for it.
No, but
and
what's
I think
cool
his
is though, if you
perspective-
like what he picks and he
yeah.
gets you and you get him, that's the magic.
I think that's the
the magic.
I agree.
Let's get back to the bear crawl. Is that legal for a marathon to do that? Or
Well, so he did it on his own. It wasn't like he bear crawled. The
oh,
New
he
York
just
City
did, it
Marathon.
wasn't like a
He just
real
said,
marathon.
"I'm going to do 31 miles," and it took him 24 hours to do it.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh. I think that's crazy.
It is a little bit crazy.
Definitely crazy.
So like through the night, this guy's bear crawling some miles.
Yeah, through New York City
That's amazing.
on his hands and feet.
Did he like have somebody document it for him?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
all
dope.
on YouTube.
That's cool.
I
whole thing's on
gotta
YouTube.
check that out.
There was another
That's
guy who had
amazing.
done it. This guy Devin Levesque had done it.
Oh yeah,
years
yeah,
ago.
I know him.
He bear crawled a marathon, and then obviously got some clout online. And I don't think that James was necessarily like chasing clout. He was in those years like after school. I don't know what I'm doing really with my life, and he just wanted to challenge himself at something and
Hell
have
yeah.
something to train
I
for.
want to meet this guy.
It
You
was a
got to
guy
meet him.
who-
He's a great dude.
There was a guy who literally used to do that. Like he would walk around like a bear crawl. Like
Oh, yeah?
it was like the 80s or 90s
whole
or
life?
something like that. Yeah, like that was his deal. Because I don't know, he said it was healthier, and I don't know what it was, but I got to check it out. I remember it. It was
Right.
definitely early 90s, late 80s, where he would walk on his
And
hands.
these small communities started popping
And
up.
then they made
Everybody was
movies
just
walk
walking
like a
on all
man.
fours.
As a 300-pound, 42-year-old white man, there is nothing worse than a bear crawl. Tony back there, sometimes he's like, "Yo, do a bear crawl." I'm like, "No, fuck you." I'm like, "Dude, I love all that you do.
out.
I'll pick up that kettlebell all you want. Don't ask me to do a bear crawl."
Right. Yeah. It was very impressive.
That's
Because there was a lot of
to say the
pain and a
least.
lot of, he had to really dig deep to pull it off, but he did. He said
That's
he was going to do
amazing.
it. He trained for it for a year and he pulled it off.
Is he going to do anything else? What's
And
next?
now
Like,
he's training for I think 100-mile race, like
Like
a
the
running
ultra?
race. Yeah.
That's a thing that people are into nowadays, the ultra shit. That's wild.
Yeah.
What's ultra mean?
100 miles.
100-mile running.
I don't think that's.
Think about that.
It's not healthy.
running is. You
I
like
don't think
running?
running a regular mile is healthy.
Am I a runner? I'm not a runner. I wouldn't call myself a runner.
I can't
Do
run
I
for shit.
run? Yeah, every now and again.
I think it's like some people. Megan loves it. Like they got it, or you either got it or you don't got it.
Right.
I hear all kinds
It's
of
jogging
things.
with the soft J.
Yeah.
So painful.
Going out jogging.
I was talking to somebody about this over the weekend. My thing with running is that I think it has something to do with like ADD maybe, or I never really learned how to do it right. But I can't get into it doesn't flow for me. It doesn't I can't get into the flow with it.
Yeah, I was never the type of guy to go for a run. Just
Yeah,
for,
I can't do that.
exercise. I need something like context rich. Now, if I was playing lacrosse, I could run forever because I had something else that I was doing. But it wasn't like, hey, I'm just going to run around this track. For me, that's like,
Yes, same. I can't
it's
do it.
boring. It's not.
My
It's
mind
not
won't-
stimulating to me.
Mine won't lock in for long enough.
Right.
Those
Yeah.
backyard marathon people. What is that? Like you do it on a treadmill in your backyard or something? What was that? During the pandemic, they were doing that. It was like an ultra
Oh
marathon in
yeah,
the
sure.
backyard.
Yeah, if you wanted to run a marathon, it was like you did
On a
it at
treadmill.
home on a treadmill,
Yeah.
like on
Oh my
Zoom.
god, a
Yeah, on
treadmill.
Zoom.
That's
Yes, that was exactly what it was.
like a Zoom marathon. God.
Meg does
Probably
half.
What a
kills
dark
knees.
time.
Meg does half marathons.
I think it's awesome.
I
It's
do.
cool.
Yeah.
Anything that moves people.
But it's different for
is good.
everyone.
No, but I think that's
100%.
what it comes down to. What it comes down to
feel like
is
Find
that
what moves you.
whatever your thing is,
Yeah.
whatever, however you can get into the zone
What moves you?
is what you got to do.
Moves me?
Yeah, what moves you?
Marijuana.
Wonderful movies. Really
Good song.
comfortable couch.
Pepperoni pizza.
No, meatball pizza. Plain slice. What moves me?
It's a cool industry because it's definitely it's just you're around people that are trying to better themselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's super uplifting.
It's so
much-
motivating.
Yeah.
That's the best part, honestly, about what we're doing. That's different than PT. It's not just I'm here because my doctor made me come here.
right.
It's the people that come see me want to get better, and they want to
they're
dig
willing to make
deep
that
and
investment.
figure out
Yeah.
open it up and figure out what little thing is maybe they can optimize or do better, and we get to help provide them some direction or solution to that, which is that's the fun part. It's like CSI. What's the linchpin for this person? But people that come to see me, they want to get better. It's I want to get back to jujitsu, and I don't want to just heal and maybe be okay. I want to know that I'm going to go back to my sport and be able to compete.
That was the
And do it
exact.
at a high
That
level.
was the exact thought process.
Right.
Even when what was surprising to me when the surgeon told me about surgery, he framed it that way. He said, "You could not do surgery, and it'll heal kinda, but you'll never be able to go back to do the stuff that you were doing.
Right.
And
yeah,
you got to make that choice.
sure.
You know what I mean? If you want to go back to doing, and I thought that was an interesting way to put it. That
Right.
that thought process resonated to me, whether it's true or not.
Right.
But that was all right. We got to go through this hard thing to get back to where we were.
Absolutely.
Okay, if you're telling me that there is a good shot that we're going to be back where we were, then it's worthwhile to go through the hard thing.
Right.
And I like that thought process.
Yeah, every injury, every situation's different. You could have another person who plays sports that doesn't go
Sure.
through surgery and does really well. It just depends.
Yep.
It really depends on the injury.
Yeah, and I'm sure the surgeon is like, yeah, well, if you...
Oh, it's, you always
I
have
need to
be
make the
careful.
payment on my Porch. So if you want to do
He's
this
like, yeah,
again,
give him that speech.
Snip, snip, snip.
I really want that house in Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, give him the "you could be better" speech.
Right. He's like, it gets him every time. Yeah, you got to be careful because, surgeons... That's
what
their
they do.
toolbox. They do surgery.
surgery.
Right? So of course they're going to recommend it if you go there enough times. So you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, man, let's just cut you open and fuse your spine. It's not a big deal. It's
big
another
deal.
day at the office.
What's the biggest recovery success story that you've had, that you've worked on?
Wow. I've been very fortunate to be a part of a lot of those, which is really, really cool. The biggest one.
Like the people come in and they're like, I'm never going to get better. You know, like,
we get that
a lot.
like daily.
And then they're always like,
people are like, I can't believe that I've gotten this much better in this amount of time.
That's sick.
You know, people have been in pain for years and they come there, they're like pain free inside of a few weeks. But again, it's like when you start prioritizing the things, and I always say like small hinges swing big doors. So you got to prioritize the things that are going to move the needle the farthest. And people are just unaware of how all these things are interrelated. But I've had, for example, when I was like working in the school still, I was working at LIU Brooklyn. I had an athlete who, my first day, he had Tommy John surgery. It was like this skinny, tall, lanky kid, has his elbow reconstructed, didn't play that season. And they're like, hey, man, you got to rehab this guy. I'm like, okay. So like we rehabbed him all year, worked with the strength staff. He put on like 25 pounds because he didn't have to play baseball. So he was just working out and training and rehabbing. And he ended up getting drafted, having never thrown a pitch. Oh, wow. And now he plays for the Minnesota Twins. And that was like 15 years ago. So that's cool. Really, really cool.
That's really cool.
The mental for those guys must be insane when they first come in and they're like, their whole world is destroyed.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got to remember too, like athletes, when they get hurt, like their whole identity is wrapped up in the sport. So you're taking away not only the sport, you're taking away who they are. Yeah. And it's like, what do they do? It's like and anybody who's played sports at any level, like we all face the day where it's like, you're not going to play anymore. Like you're done with this, But that's
you
hard
want to be the one that chooses that, not, because
100%.
you blew your knee out or something.
Yeah, that's ideally what you want. Like one of my best friends from high school, he played lacrosse at Ohio State, 4-year Defensive Player of the Year, played Major League Lacrosse at the time. And then, you don't make any money playing pro lacrosse. So he worked for National Grid. He's a Long Island guy, works for National Grid. He gets a call from Team Puerto Rico and they're like, hey, we want you to play in the World Games. And he was like a year or 2 years out of his knee reconstruction. He had gained a ton of weight. His knee was still fucked. So we rehabbed him and worked with him for like 4 months, got him ready for the World Games. And he competed in the World Games for lacrosse, which is really cool. I had one athlete in Florida. We blew out his hamstring. I think it was like 6 weeks before national meet. And the team doc was like, you're done for the season. That's it. And he was like, this, obviously destroyed over it. And I was like, hey, man, let's just rehab the shit out of it and see.
Give it a shot.
Let's just see. Let's just make that our goal. And if you don't, and if you fall short, so be it. At least we tried. So not only did he ran the conference meet, qualified for nationals. I think he placed like second or third in nationals. That's awesome. And the next year he sent me his national. We didn't win a national championship that year, and that was my last year at Florida. And the next year he sent me his national championship ring. So I still have it. It's in my office.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's really cool. You get to be like the behind the scenes part of somebody's
touch people's
comeback
lives.
Story. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Touch people's lives.
Yeah.
Which is dope.
See their
It's super cool.
confidence come back.
And you get to play around with the alchemy of like hope and perseverance.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, and that's the best.
Yeah, it's like being in a fucking Rocky movie like every day.
Yeah.
It's like,
I love that.
Rock.
I love that.
That's amazing.
I get to be like Mickey. Come on.
I love that, man. That's super dope. Shit. We need a Mickey over here just yell at me all day.
You wouldn't be able to handle it. You'd be mad in a couple days.
You think so?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Stop saying you need people. Just do it.
Just do it?
Just, yeah. I need this guy. I need this guy. You can have 7 guys in your room sitting around doing terrible jobs. I'll be every one of those guys for you.
I don't know about that.
I'd blow my fucking brains out.
Oh, yeah.
Kurt's in the bathroom again.
He won't come out. He locked it.
And you have like different outfits for all the different versions, like costumes.
What about like cannabis? You guys, like, what's the deal with that? Now, is that like a bigger part of recovery and things? Like,
well, it depends. I mean, like NCAA, actually the NCAA, I think just changed the ruling like this week where they're no longer going to be testing for cannabis. So we'll see how that translates. Really? Yeah, NCAA is not going to test for, I mean, a lot of the pro sports, like MLB hasn't tested for cannabis in like a decade. Minor league, yes. Major league, no.
Interesting.
Yeah, super interesting.
Why not? You think maybe there's like a psychological thing? They're trying to see like how much you're willing to sacrifice and conform?
My whole thing with like these are adults.
Yeah.
And again, it remember when like Plaxico Burress shot himself in the leg at the club?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
I think
it's
so,
like,
even though I'm not.
It's like that.
Yeah.
or he gets stoned and eats some food by himself in his house. Like,
There's no benefit in the sport that they're playing if they're
there's no competitive benefit.
no
If anything,
competitive
it's the opposite.
right.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
how I always thought of it.
Right.
Reality
So-
is the amount of people that are going to be able to perform at the highest level
Right.
who also frequently smoke weed is going to be a very small population.
But isn't there,
100%.
but is there any benefit?
You'd be surprised though how many pro athletes
Yeah.
smoke weed. A lot of weed.
I believe it.
Yeah.
But is there any like recovery benefit from it?
So we do have so the whole reason smoking weed like THC works is because we have what we call an endocannabinoid system. So part of our so we have cannabinoids in our body all the time.
which is the same properties that it's in the plant, right?
So the plant THC just binds to the endocannabinoid receptors, and that's what gives you the feeling, right? But we have that in our body always, and that's kind of like the utility of using like CBD as like an anti-inflammatory. The jury is still out. We still don't know a lot about how this affects us long term, but it seems as though CBD or cannabinoids have an effect on like the inflammation modulation system. So how our body buffers inflammation and goes from like pro-inflammation to anti-inflammation, right? Because remember, it's not like, oh, inflammation's there. It's like it's a process, right? That's ebbs and flows. So it's somehow CBD or endocannabinoids are able to buffer that process is the best way I could describe it. Interesting. So yeah, there could be some health benefits, but you know, inhaling burnt plant matter probably not the best thing for you.
Yeah, but you can drink it now. You can do that.
Right, there's other ways. The delivery
There's
system.
a lot better ways to do it.
The delivery system is the key.
We've been drinking it. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love drinking it.
It's fun to drink.
Meg drank it this weekend.
Meg did drink it
I
this
did
weekend.
drink it for the first time. I'm trying not to drink alcohol much anymore.
Right.
I did this weekend, but it was fun. It was fun. It felt a little something. Better than the edible, I thought.
My whole thing with like edibles is always like, it's tricky dosing it.
Dosage?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like not enough, and you're like, man, and then too much, you're like, no. And then you're like, I have to live like this for 8 hours.
Yep.
It's like
I think
got
with the
shit to do
stores,
later.
it's gotten a lot easier though.
Yeah, for sure. But I think people don't know what their tolerance level
No.
is,
Yeah.
Especially if you're not partaking, I guess, on
And
the
what's
regular.
very interesting is that like I've been doing drugs a long time. You know what I mean? Like
I'm a bit of an expert myself.
Familiar.
I've partaken in a lot of different stuff, right? But for some reason with edibles, like THC edibles, like 5 milligrams, which is a relatively small dosage,
Sure.
sometimes will get me fucking high as fuck.
Right.
And like she's taken the same amount and like have had very, very little impact. So it's like another one of these things to where like everybody's different. Everybody's system processes these things
And I
different.
think the edible itself too. It's like, what is it made out of? Other ingredients.
Sure,
right? Like,
sure.
is it-
Definitely. What did you eat that day? What
Right.
didn't you
There's
eat
a lot
that
of
day? How much
factors.
water did you? Yeah.
And then you got to trust that like the company that manufactured that, like how are they measuring it? Or are they just guessing?
but there's this
Like was the
company-
pan tipped and it all leaked to one side?
It's
So you have
500
like,
milligrams
you
instead
have
of
like
5.
Those are the
you have
best.
a death drop on one side and a dink on the other. Like I don't know, because that's the thing that people will say is like they don't like. I've
Yeah.
experienced.
I think
that with
that's how
edibles,
it
and
was
that's why
with
I'm
my-
like,
It's very
cousin's
different.
friend
It's
made
not very.
brownies.
It's not very consistent.
Yeah.
But I have found with the company Heirloom, right? That's what it is. The
Heirloom, yeah.
Heirloom with the sodas or whatever you call them.
oh, I seen the drinks.
Those
Yeah.
it's
Super
it's been the
consistent?
most consistent,
Interesting.
most enjoyable.
Huh.
Love it.
The drink. I don't
Love
think I've
it.
ever done the drink.
And
I'll
what's
have to
so
try it.
interesting too is like you just have to do one.
One can.
Yeah.
One can, you put it
How's
over
it
ice
taste?
or whatever.
Does it taste it?
I mean, some of them,
Used to.
like one, like
Tastes great.
the lemonade one tastes like lemonade.
I got one. I'll give it to you when you leave. I got one in the
Really
freezer.
good. Really good. And gets the job done.
All right.
Gets the
Hey,
job
Gets
done.
the job done.
A little self-experimentation.
Yeah, man. You got to do
There
it.
you go.
Yeah, I'm always experimenting on myself.
You are. You
Since
are.
I was a teenager.
I mean, everything.
Wink,
You know what I mean?
wink.
Drugs.
Freedom, all that stuff.
So what else, man?
that's
Are you working on anything specific right now? Is anything new? Is anything jamming?
New. I'm working on like a couple new courses. I think, like from a business perspective, it's smart for me to sell online products now because I
Trying to
have
help
some
other
following.
people who are in
yeah,
your-
other trainers. Like,
Okay.
because we all have to do like
cool.
continuing education to
Yep.
maintain our licenses. So,
Yep.
so like I'm going to release 2 courses in the fall and sell them online. So that's fun. That's like a cool little like side project. What else? I'm working with.
You're still doing the podcast?
I am, yeah. I just redid my website, so I had to put the podcast on hold a little bit because now I'm like refiguring out how to like do the RSS feed on WordPress. I used to do on Squarespace, so it's like learning a new language now. So a lot of the back end stuff I'm just kind of working on.
You do that all yourself?
No, this website I had previously done it all myself.
Podcast.
Now I start outsourcing it. No, the podcast we do ourselves. Yeah. So one of my massage therapists, he's my producer. You know, we have you've been in my office. It's set up.
It's got a little setup.
Yeah, a little setup. Cool. It's pretty cool. So, you know, we do a lot of it through Riverside, like on the online platform, but I want to do more in person because it's fun. I like doing it this way. It's cool.
No, this is good. This is
the best way.
There's an energy to this.
Yeah.
This is great. It's people talking shit. Yeah.
Right.
It's old as the hills.
One of these guys.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Cool, man. Cool. Well, yeah, man. Fuck it. Thank you for coming down.
Oh, appreciate the invite. This is awesome.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah, we gotta get Kurt over to your place. Put him in.
Get him in a.
Put him in the cold flash.
Every one of these guys are just for me. I know it is.
Yeah.
The show's a hoax.
Pretty soon we're gonna get a tobacco grower in here for you.
Yeah, somebody with my interests.
Yeah.
We've
Someone
had a lot
that
of
works
people
at
that are like, you know,
White Claw.
trainers and like people and there's always points to Kurt.
It's the guy who makes caramel Turkish golds. It's like,
Wait, what was
I'll settle for a guy who rolls cigarettes. You got a guy who rolls
what was the camel guy's name?
Joe.
Joe the camel.
Joe Camel. Yeah,
Joe
he had
Cool.
chicken balls
Camel.
on his face. Joe Cool.
He did have balls on his face.
Remember when they said Jay-Z
And
looked
then they
like Joe
outlawed him
Camel?
because he was too relatable and cool.
Yeah.
And wanted the kids to do it.
Yeah, it was, yeah, he grabs you in.
Right.
Well, I was at this. Like weed. Back to weed. I was at this like weed festival a couple of weeks ago. Oh, it was Alive After 5 in Patchogue, and they had like a whole alley of just like people selling weed.
Right.
Which I don't think that's legal, but whatever. But I was talking to the one guy because he had like the packaging, and I was talking to him like a dork about the packaging, and he was saying like, he's like, dude, the you can't have like a bear, anything that looks like a kid would be interested in it on there.
Right.
He's like, it's crazy, and because he had a package that was Spike Lee, like the old Spike Lee with like the Brooklyn hat on it, and I was like, dude, that's so sick. How'd you get that through? He's like, kids don't know who this is, so they, you know, just approved it. But
Interesting.
you put anything that looks like a cartoon character, they're like, no chance.
Unicorns and teddy bears.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
no
you
shot.
can't even sell flavored tobacco because it's too
Appealing.
appealing to kids.
Yeah.
You think weed usage in high schools has changed now? Now
think
that
what?
it's like weed in high school is different now because it's been legalized. Like
I think they're smoking way more than they're
you think
drinking.
we've seen the impact yet or not yet?
I do. You don't think so?
Yeah, I think you're right. Or
I
other
think,
things.
I mean,
Is it
listen,
21 or 18 to smoke weed?
21.
It's 21.
it's 21 to smoke weed. Yeah, because you got to show you. They got to scan
Yeah,
your
you have
ID.
the ID. Yeah.
It's like going to a strip joint when you go to that place.
I love going to that place. Place
Yeah.
blows
Here's
my
your
mind.
ID, cash only.
So weird. And they scan the back of it. It's like, what is that for? What are you? Why are you scanning
We're all
my
on a
license?
list. That's why.
yeah, that's definitely it. They're putting you in prison in a couple of
They're
years.
like,
Is that
okay.
what happens?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep. I don't know if, I work with a lot of high school kids, but I work with like high school athletes. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure
they're
if
not.
those kids, like I was super straight edge in
They're
high
not
school.
doing
I
it.
didn't smoke. The first time I smoked was in my junior year of college. And it was only because I had concussion problems. No, I was
That
playing
helped?
college lacrosse. Well, so I had gotten hit in the head with a shot that dislocated my jaw. So I got knocked unconscious.
He had his jaw dislocated.
I feel like that would make you forget more though.
Well, so what ended up happening was I got another concussion like 3 weeks later, and we call that second impact syndrome.
Yep.
And so afterwards, I was diagnosed with insomnia. Then I was having all these like crazy mood swings where I'd like flip out or like start crying or I was a fucking mess.
Oh, your parents must have fucking went nuts.
Well, I was away at school, right? So they didn't really my mom didn't really see much of it. It was just more like me complaining that I didn't feel right, and it was hard for me to focus and this and that. So they sent me all these different doctors and neurologists, and everything like checked out that I was like fine. So they're like, oh, you're just, we're gonna put you on an antidepressant. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, geez.
No, I was like 19, so I didn't know any better. I'm just gonna listen to my doctor. That made me way worse.
Yeah.
So my junior year, I stopped playing lacrosse just because I couldn't really train. Every time I tried to work out, I'd feel nauseous. And so that my junior year, I was living in a house off campus with a bunch of my buddies that didn't play sports. And they were like, come on, Stella, like, you're not playing sports. You're not getting drug tested anymore. Like, stop being such a bitch.
Peer
I'm like,
pressure.
hey, all right. It was peer pressure. But the crazy thing was, is like after the concussions, I lost like 25 pounds because I couldn't eat. I wasn't sleeping. I was a mess.
jacked up.
And then all of a sudden, you know, and I was doing it at the time like, oh, recreation. I'm just going to do it with my friends and hang out. But I started eating and I started sleeping. So it started helping
After
me.
you started smoking weed.
Yeah.
Right.
Those two things I think were like,
Wow.
okay, I started to kind of bring me back a little bit. Got
And
off the
that got you off the
antidepressants.
antidepressants?
Right.
That's interesting.
It definitely helps
Right.
with those two things. I can
Well,
attest to that.
I think a lot of like the issues I was dealing with were because I wasn't eating and sleeping.
Yeah.
You know, and so I was
Yeah, yeah.
dysregulated emotionally and mentally. And so
I think that's interesting too.
Is that
about
what
how, like,
essentially got you back into doing what you do
I
now?
it didn't get, well, I was studying sports medicine at the time.
Okay.
So I was already on this trajectory, but I was always like super like, oh my God, I don't want people to know that I smoke weed because this is like in the mid to
No,
late
I'm not
2000s,
saying
so it's
weed.
still kind of taboo.
I'm not saying weed. I'm like you.
Oh, those
I'm saying
injuries.
you getting the injuries and not being able to,
Right. Well,
continue
even
to play.
the original injury is I blew my knee out in high school. So I was
Okay.
I played at Limbrook High School. We were back-to-back county champions. So we had
All right, don't brag.
yeah,
Limbrook
come on,
sucks.
man.
Limbrook.
So we were, I was pretty highly recruited.
Get robbed.
And then
With
I
your
tore
two
my
trains.
my ACL, PCL, MCL, meniscus.
you banged up.
Yeah.
I see the cut on your knee.
Yeah, I had that reconstructed, that bad boy.
Oh man.
But I was never really the same athlete afterwards. And so that's kind of what
It's crazy.
kind of got me into like figuring out why. Honestly, for myself, it was mostly selfish. I was just trying to figure out how to,
Were you not the same because you couldn't move the same?
I couldn't move the same.
Or you
yeah.
didn't have the confidence to move the same?
Both.
Gotcha.
It was both.
Yeah, I know all about it. I'm only kidding. I don't know anything about it.
It was both. I think not being able to do the same things on the field made me less confident.
But it's
in
so
that.
incredible how everything
Yeah.
comes
the
down
mental
to the
part.
mental.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. It's so amazing.
But they both feed each other too.
Yeah,
you know?
of course. It's this crazy computer that's like, stuck in our meat brain. Like that's just operating everything.
With the
Yep.
meat brain. It's like the second time I've heard that this week.
Meat stick.
You said I had a concussion. I laughed and I wasn't laughing at the fact you had a
Yeah,
concussion.
that's fine. I
I
get it.
really wanted you to say the first time I tried weed was with Urban Meyer and like Tim Tebow and Aaron Hernandez. Like I
That's
really
awesome,
wanted
yeah.
that to be the story. That's all right.
Oh man.
I've only smoked ever with one pro athlete who was a Major League Baseball player. I'm not going to say his name, but it was down at spring training. It was a good time.
All right.
But I'll tell you what, MLB, they're all potheads. All of them.
Yeah, it's the slowest game in the
100%
world.
of those
They have
guys.
to-
Barely playing.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the clubhouse is for.
Right. Just go down in the tunnel.
So it's generally accepted that the athleticism is not super high level in MLB.
No, they're good. They're
Oh, now, I
athletic.
mean, yeah.
I mean, come on. Everybody's a machine
But
now.
it's low impact though, right? It's not,
I got a
I would-
question for you.
Yeah.
These guys stretch every day. I'm talking baseball players
Mm-hmm.
mainly, right? Every day you go to the ballpark early, you see these guys stretching, doing their little hops.
Right.
Everything that they can do, right? They finally get a base hit down the first base line. They run, they pull a hammy all the time.
Right.
How? How are these guys
It's the weed.
always pulling hammies? Seriously, they're stretching every day.
Well, it's like part of it. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for it, but in baseball particularly, it's like, okay, they're doing all that warm up and then they're going to go sit in the dugout.
Because it's
for
stop and go,
20
right?
minutes.
Stop and go, stop
So you're
and go.
ice cold already. Guys coming off the bench. So it's like tissue temperature plays a huge role in that. Because as our tissue temperatures increase, they become more elastic. So they're a little bit stretchier and more. They rebound a little bit
I
better.
feel like they're so physically fit, but every time, Stanton tries to get a double out of a
Right.
single, he's done for
Well, the other
year.
part of it too is like you're looking at athletes that are heavy rotational athletes in one direction. So what you'll typically see is that their ranges of motion on their right hip versus their left hip, for example, will be completely different.
What do you mean? When they're batting or when they're playing?
No, just
playing
in
sport?
general.
Just
right?
in general.
Right. Like no humans aren't symmetrical in general, but when you throw one side or swing one side,
Right.
your body adapts to that, right? And that adaptation now you go to do something like, oh, I'm going to put a barbell on my back and squat symmetrically. It's like, well, yeah, fuck you. Go ahead, try. Okay. But you fundamentally changed. Your body is adapted. Your bones have have twisted in a certain way
melded one
to
way.
create more rotation in that direction.
Interesting. Right.
So I think a lot of what we see in at least baseball is unmanaged asymmetries or poorly managed asymmetries. The fact that it's up and down in terms of like tissue temperature, their schedules are brutal, man.
The schedules are
the
bad.
schedules are brutal. The amount of travel they do. And again, everybody assumes that those guys are getting like the absolute best possible care. They get the same compartmentalized medical system that we get, only faster and with more consequences. because they basically go straight to the surgeon, straight to the MRI, and that surgeon makes the call
right away.
Right?
Yes.
But the problem with that is that surgeon has rehabilitated exactly 0 people.
Right.
Yeah,
They're not on the field working, right? They're just, MRI, we got to see what the MRI says. And so it's very political. It's driven mostly by money. No, you got to remember too, those athletes are a commodity.
Yeah.
They're an asset. They're not looked at as human beings that we want to take care of.
Do they get to make the final decision on themselves?
Very rarely.
Very rarely. So if somebody's saying, your arm is toasted, you got to get
pressure from the contract and all kinds of stuff.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't get to say, I don't want to do that.
I mean, again, you also got to remember.
Sure, you
too,
can, but it's like
tough.
when you have $100 million fucking contract, there's probably a lot of people that have a stake in that conversation.
If surgery is the idea,
well, that's the other thing too. Is like you got to remember, right? The sports medicine staffs, and I'm not saying anybody's bad at their job or anything, but they work for the team.
Right,
they don't work for the athlete. So why do I consult with a dozen or so major leaguers? Is because I work for the athlete now.
Yeah.
So they use me as like, hey, what do you think of this, or what should I be doing? Like, because I'm giving them a perspective that is in their best interest, not in the team's best interest. So it's so the politics, the money, the science, it's all interwoven, and each segment of it bastardizes the other, which is the fucked up part. Wow. That's the fucked up part.
It's giant money. When
amount of
money like that is being paid, it is a brutal scenario.
Yep.
It is like whatever we got to do to keep the fucking faucet on.
Yep.
That's
the same thing. It's like if any of you guys were to come to me and be like, oh, I got this like Achilles issue. My doctor said I should maybe try a cortisone injection. I'd be like, fucking hell no. Don't do that. Because we know cortisone is going to degrade the tissue and make you more likely to tear it. Those guys are going to be lined up for cortisone injections.
Because they got to play.
People wonder why, like at the Super Bowl, a guy's like bouncing around the sideline and blows his Achilles out. It's like, why does that happen in the top 1% of athletes on the planet? Well, it happens because that guy probably had an Achilles issue that they shot up with corticosteroids because it's the freaking Super Bowl.
He's got to play.
And he's going to go out there and play regardless. Yeah. He knows the risk.
Yeah.
And then he's out there bouncing around on the sideline. Bang, his Achilles blows. You know what I mean? So it's just, scenario. It comes with the territory. But they're very difficult problems to solve. But like even like all these Tommy Johns in baseball, that damage started when they were kids. This is the first generation of Major League Baseball players that played year-round travel ball when they were kids.
Right.
And now we're starting to see the ripple effect of that.
I see a lot of clips on that online about people talking about how travel is killing everything.
Oh man, it's
health,
really
the
brutal,
sport
man.
itself, the community, all that stuff.
I've done more
for
Tommy John rehabs
or just
for
baseball?
14,
mainly
15
lacrosse, soccer, baseball. Oh yeah.
Long Island is rife with it, man.
My kid just started travel soccer, and it's insane.
Yeah,
like
it's
the
because
amount
you travel
of
after a
time,
while.
money.
Yeah, it's
You're
crazy.
traveling to Maryland to play 4 Long Island teams. It's the dumbest thing in the
They
world.
asked us to go to Maryland, because he's not going to be playing in Major League Soccer.
Your son just started traveling. He just started playing soccer. How do you get on the travel team?
Right. Like how about we go to Burns Park?
Play a couple intramural games first.
It's crazy.
I don't know.
He's on TikTok.
He's on the travel. I don't know.
But it's a big business.
Yeah.
These guys are making hand over fist money now.
Well, which son are you talking about? The youngest?
Eli, yeah.
All right. I was going to say you probably ran out of time because in Lindenhurst, at 10 years old, you run out of time. You either play travel or you don't play at all.
Well,
that's what it comes down
to. Like Little League.
The club was not like the non-travel. Like it really wasn't good. Like it wasn't
competitive enough for him.
Yeah, but it was shitty.
I got to talk to Eli.
I don't know. I fucking know nothing about any of this shit. I'm like, yeah, travel team, whatever you want to do.
You know what the unfortunate thing is like sports.
You want to go travel?
Right.
I'll see you when you get back.
I'm not going to any away games.
Here's your Amtrak ticket.
No, it got real for me when I was like somewhere in Nassau County in a fucking rainstorm with an umbrella.
Oh, and they don't stop the game.
And like me, I don't know anything about any of this shit. And I'm out there and I'm like, what is happening? What choices have I made in my life that have led me to this moment?
I'm like standing in the rain.
Yeah, standing in the rain.
Field
and I'm like, I don't even know if this kid gives a shit about this. Like, what am I doing?
He's having fun.
Yeah, as long as he's having fun, sliding in the rain.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's tough though because like I think sports is.
Is that your car?
That doesn't happen anymore. I can't believe that happens.
No,
it's not mine.
No.
We're all clicking the buttons.
I don't think mine exists
in our pockets.
You guys a red Jeep
Oh,
SUV.
that's mine.
Oh, look at you.
Oh,
double along.
Shit!
It's got a double along.
How could that be mine then?
It's not yours.
There's the Jeep, and then there's like an SUV Jeep.
Cheap.
Oh, mine's the red.
Your
the
car's
Wrangler.
actually smashed out in front. Somebody just
Yeah.
some
I'm a
truck
Megan,
just smashed your car outside.
Can you hear it? Can you hear the horn?
It's loud.
Yeah, it's loud.
I could hear it gently. Yeah.
Yeah.
I can hear it gently.
Well, maybe that's
Yeah, that's a sign.
That's the sign. We did it, man. Mike, thank you for
Cool.
coming. This
Oh,
was
of
fun.
course. Thank you guys. I
Thank you for
appreciate
coming.
it.
No, this is
Anytime.
great. Thank you.
Golf is one that
Feel
I feel
motivated
like is like an
right
underrated.
now.
Like a golf swing looks violent to me.
It is violent.
You know, like those people are
get
gonna be
hurt
fucked
doing
up.
Oh yeah. Tiger Woods tore his ACL twice.
Dude, that guy's a
He
shell
also
of
threw
himself.
2 calls off of a cliff.
They should have just let him stay with the hookers.
Golf was the least of his problems.
Right.